Good morning from Tokyo. I have another exciting day planned. This morning I'm going to be trying out the hotel breakfast, and I've heard a lot of really good things about it. It's a bit on the pricier side, but people said it's definitely worth it. After that, I'm going to be checking out a shop that's famous for its Totoro shaped cream puffs, so I think that'll be tasty because I love myself a good cream puff. And then I'm going to be heading to a temple famous for its waving cats. And then for dinner, I'm so excited and a little nervous. I'm going to be trying the famous pufferfish, or Japanese fugu, which is a highly poisonous fish, but when prepared properly, it is safe to eat and has been a delicacy in Japan for years. And what I find pretty impressive is it was so dangerous, at one point during the Meiji period, it was completely outlawed. Anyways, let's head down to breakfast now. I know breakfast yesterday was really delicious, but I think this one is going to be great as well. To start off, we have our smoothies to try. Here's their green vegetable smoothie. To be honest, that's a little bit too healthy tasting for me personally. It just tastes like a whole bunch of green vegetables mixed with apple cider vinegar. And as you know, I'm not a super big vinegar person, so I don't prefer that one. This one sounds a lot more appealing to me. This is their pineapple and ginger one. Oh, that is intense. You get a nice hit of sour tart pineapple juice as well as a kind of a bit of a burning spiciness from the ginger. This one is quite strong and honestly not too bad. It'll definitely wake you up in the morning. This is our green salad, and it comes with a little bit of fruit enzyme dressing, and I think that sounds pretty interesting. It's a great light salad to start off the morning. It's nice and tart, a little bit vinegary, which I don't mind, and it's a little bit citrusy, so I'd say it's a really refreshing start to the meal. Next we have our vegetable soup. Really mild tasting, just a light chicken broth as well as various vegetables. So for all of this meal, it tastes very clean and healthy. I am about to change that healthy trend with the next dish, which is an omelet with bacon. These eggs look really intriguing. These are the most orangey looking eggs I've ever seen, so let's just go ahead and split this omelet open. Just as Japanese omelets traditionally are, the inside is very undercooked and nice and runny. While I must admit I'm not the biggest fan of undercooked eggs, these do look pretty appealing just because of the deep orangey color. These eggs are definitely better than I thought. They have a rich, eggy flavor. Now let's go for a bacon. That looks like a nice thick cut. Oh, that is wonderful. The flavor is like an American bacon, but the texture is really soft and meaty, almost like the texture of Canadian bacon. Then they brought out a plain croissant and a chocolate croissant, which were both surprisingly buttery and flaky. The last course was a plate of fruit and yogurt. That is delicious. It's just a symphony of flavors. As you eat from right to left, each fruit gets sweeter and juicier, and they're all really tasty. They're all at peak ripeness, and I love it. Now we have our yogurt and honey, and they said it comes with ginza honey. Let's go for this yogurt. I'm really looking forward to it, because the honey I had at the Gate Hotel was amazing, and I think this might be on that same level. Wow, I'm not sure if I was supposed to add all the honey to the yogurt, but I do like it. It really turns it into dessert. It almost has a sticky, syrupy texture from the honey. It's so sweet and very floral. I just finished up a great breakfast and I really enjoyed it. I love their high quality ingredients. Everything was made with care. All the vegetables and fruits were perfectly dried off. Everything was bright and fresh, and I love the taste. It was around $31 a person, so I think it's a bit more expensive compared to the other breakfasts I've had, but you definitely get what you paid for. So be sure to give it a try if you're at this hotel. Breakfast will not disappoint. But now, let's head off to our cream puff shop. I just placed my order. I decided to order the strawberry cream puff as well as the blueberry yogurt cream puff, and that one intrigues me because they use Hokkaido yogurt, and I was just in Hokkaido, so we'll see how tasty it is. They were already sold out of the custard and chocolate, and I stood in line 5 minutes for opening, so definitely get here about half an hour before they open. They also request you have to order a drink for each person when you get your cream puffs, so I decided to go for the matcha latte. They started by bringing our drinks out, and my matcha latte looks delicious. It looks like there's some sort of whipped cream on top. Well, that is wonderful. It's milky and sweet, and I love the bitter taste of the matcha at the end as well. The whipped cream makes for a pleasant touch too. They just brought the cream puffs out, and I really want to start off with the blueberry yogurt one, so I'm super curious about that. I love that. It's a soft, fluffy, delicate outside, and the cream is amazing. I love that rich blueberry flavor, and it's so light and fluffy, the cream. It really does taste like they're using Hokkaido dairy. It's really a big difference. These are some really tasty cream puffs. I'm looking forward to the strawberry one now too after trying that. Oh, that is so nice. The pastry on there is incredible. I love how nicely it's toasted and browned on the outside, and the pastry itself is really light and fluffy and has a bit of a buttery flavor as well. And paired with the cream, I love that because it just tastes like they're using fresh, homemade strawberry jam as well as whipped cream for that filling, which is so pleasant. When I got here 5 minutes before opening, I probably had to wait in about a total 45-minute line, and it was so worth it. I mean, I was debating it because today's a really warm and humid day here in Japan, but it was so tasty. I love those cream puffs, and that was a great matcha latte as well to go with it. Now I'm heading back to the train station, and we're going to be going to Gotokuji Temple, which is famous for its little cat statues. Here we are. This is the entrance to Gotokuji Temple. This is kind of terrifying. I found the biggest snake I've ever seen that's not in a pet store. This is a large wall where everyone makes their fortunes. Eventually my time at Gotokuji Temple was up and I was back on a train to lunch. I did have to make a couple of transfers, and I even walked through Shinjuku Station, which is Tokyo's most crowded train station. 45 minutes later I made it to the ramen shop I wanted to go to for lunch, but I couldn't believe my eyes as they were closed for 2 weeks as they were on vacation. Finally I found a restaurant with plastic food on display that looked quite good. This was the cheapest meal of my trip. After wandering around for 15 minutes, I finally found this restaurant, which is right across from the train station, and there's a decent number of people here considering it's pretty late in the afternoon, so I'm pretty surprised, so I thought it might be good. It's really cheap, and they serve soba sets. Let's just go for a nice bite of our katsu. That was really nice. The batter on the outside is a little bit soft because it's soaked in sauce. It's really nice and sweet, almost like a teriyaki. I love the addition of the egg, and it's a really lean cutlet, so it's really nice and meaty and rich. Paired with the rice, that alone makes for a great affordable meal that's really tasty. Now let's go for a soba. That is pretty impressive soba. For the price, it's really good quality. I love the bouncy chewiness of the noodles. They're really nice and springy, and paired with the broth, it's very mild and clean. I love the freshness from the green onion, and I like the mild spiciness you get from the wasabi. This is a great lunch set for amazing value. This was only 880 yen, and I'm not sure what the current conversion is, but it's somewhere in the $6 range. Then it was off to see a traditional knife shop in Asakusa. Once again, I had to make 2 subway transfers before arriving at Tarwamachi Station. Eventually arrived at Kappabashi Dori, which is a famous street lined with knife shops. 35 minutes later, I made it to the knife shop I wanted to check out. This is Tsubaya. I just selected my knife, and I decided to go for a Santoku knife, which is the one I have at home, but my one at home is pretty much broken. The handle is like completely cracked. and that was right before this trip, so it's perfect timing. The knife I got is really high quality and it'll last for a long time, and I also got a stone sharpening block which I'll use to keep it nice and new. It's kind of crazy how much traveling I've done today, but now I gotta take another long train ride back across the city, back to my hotel before dinner. On my way back while transferring at Ueno Station, I saw the shortest ceiling ever, and I was able to reach it easily, even me being 5'3". Now I'm going to be heading off to dinner at Genpin Fugu, and I'm really looking to the Fugu experience. I'm not sure what I decided on yet because there's multiple meal options, but we'll figure it out when we get to the restaurant. Look at what I found on my walk to dinner. This is the Hotel Tokyo Stay, the same hotel I stayed at in Hakodate because it's part of a chain. We made it here to Genpin Fugu, and this is another meal that I'm really excited for. I think I've made my decision on getting their Tenraku course, which is 8,000 yen. It's a bit on a pricey side, about $56 US, but look at all the items it comes with. I feel like that's honestly a pretty good deal, considering that Fugu is generally a luxury food. The variety of Fugu that they serve here is the tiger pufferfish, and it's known for being one of the most poisonous varieties, but also one of the most prized for its delicate taste. The first dish is our parboiled fugu skin, and we gotta give this a good mix because it looks like there's some sort of dressing on the bottom, and it's served cold with some green onions. I'm really looking forward to this, my first bite of fugu at this restaurant. It doesn't have a lot of flavor, but I do really enjoy it. It has the texture of almost like jellyfish or possibly some sort of squid. It's very nice and bouncy and has a gelatinous texture to it, a little bit chewy, and I just find it really fun to eat. And I love the sauce that's on there, some sort of citrusy sauce, very light and aromatic, and I love the green onions on there. As I took my second bite, it tastes a little bit spicy. This is fantastic. They just brought out the next dish, and this is the most popular way of eating fugu. This is fugu sashimi. The fugu looks like it's prepared in a very similar manner. Thinly sliced fugu, this time it's on top of cabbage, but it's also topped with the same citrus sauce, as well as green onions and the red spicy flakes, I guess. The taste of this is amazing. The fugu itself is very clean. It doesn't really have much of a flavor, but again, you get a crunch from that raw cabbage, and then the other items on there, such as the spiciness and the green onions, add a nice flavor, and I love that citrus. And the texture of the fugu is really interesting. It almost reminds me of the texture of what I would imagine a raw sirloin steak would be like, very firm and very meaty. For such an intimidating looking fish, I have to say it is quite tasty so far. Next is an item I'm really looking forward to. This is the deep fried fugu, and this was my favorite item the last time I had fugu. This is wonderful. I love the crispy exterior. The batter is perfectly thin. It just complements the meat very nicely. And this is one of these rare cases where I say you could feed someone this meat and they might tell you it tastes a bit like chicken. The flavor definitely is a chickeny flavor, but the reason you know you're eating fugu is because it has a very soft and delicate fish-like texture, a lot different than when it's raw. It's just very, very, very soft and delicate and subtle. I can't wait for the next dish. The next dish is yaki fugu, or grilled fugu, and they give you a little grill and they're going to fill it up with charcoal, and then you get to grill the fugu. They just brought out the fugu to grill now, and it comes in a miso soy sauce, and we're supposed to dip in the sauce and then grill it, and you're supposed to repeatedly dip it in the sauce throughout the grilling process to make sure it's extra flavorful. I just finished grilling our first set of fugu, and these are the more meaty and bony chunks. It looks like just big pieces of fugu meat that's left on the bone, which I think helps it cook a little bit more evenly. Let's give this a taste. It looks nice and charred on the outside, and I believe it's cooked about 80%, maybe 90% through, and they recommend 80%. I love the char on the outside. It's really nice and smoky and burnt tasting, and the flavor is really umami because you taste all the soy sauce and miso in there. And the fish almost tastes like a white fish. I mean, probably because it is. It almost reminds me of maybe a cross between tilapia and cod, but it is so naturally sweet. and I really love how that sauce, I think, really enhances the natural sweetness and taste of the fish. The other part of our barbecue to try is our barbecued fugu skin, which I'm kind of curious about. It is very similar to the appetizer, definitely has a much saltier taste, I think, because it absorbs the marinade better than the meat. However, I'm not as big of a fan of it. It's a little bit more on the chewy side since it's grilled, and it has a very slight slimy texture to it as well, but it does have great flavor. They just brought out the hot pot, which is heating up. It looks like the broth, or maybe it's just water, is in this paper, which I'm really curious about because it's on top of a hot burner, so I don't know how the paper's not dissolving. I'm really impressed with that. Our hot pot is starting to steam now, so I believe they're going to bring out the fish and vegetables to add into it pretty soon. Our hot pot comes with collagen jelly, which I think is really interesting, and I love the touch of 24 karat gold on top. To start, I added the fugu into our boiling broth. Next, I added in the vegetables. Finally, I added in the collagen jelly just to add a bit more body. Let's just go for a hot pot now. I got a big piece of the bone-in fugu, and we're going to give it a little dip in our dipping sauce. I actually think I'm going to mix it up a bit, because I believe that's what we're supposed to do. Looks like there's more spicy stuff in here, and a little bit of Japanese daikon, which is radish. I just gave it a second dip, so let's taste this now. You know, for being a poisonous fish, this is really tasty. It definitely reminds me of the fried fugu in terms of texture. Very soft and delicate, and definitely a really tender fish. It's not hard to chew at all once it's cooked. The waitress just came out and she helped make our rice porridge. She just added the rice to the broth that we already had from the fugu hot pot, so I think that's going to be really tasty. And then she added in an egg, and she used a little spatula, and she was able to carefully pour in the egg, so it kind of has a fluffy texture to it, and I think it's going to taste great. She was really friendly, and I really enjoyed chatting with her because we chatted for a while she was making this. But anyways, let's give this a taste. It's literally steaming hot. Oh, this is delicious. It is so warm, and I know today was a hot day, but it still tastes great to me. I love the texture of the rice. It's really soft, and then you get a lot of flavor because she had a soy sauce in there, but it adds a really nice saltiness, and I feel like it enhances the flavor of the broth, because remember, we added collagen into here from the fugu hot pot, so it definitely has a strong, like, fish flavor, but not fishy, just like flavorful and umami and meaty and rich, and I just love this. And the seaweed on top is also a nice addition, because I just added some dried seaweed. Really adds a lot. You know, I mentioned earlier that our waitress was super friendly, and I really enjoyed chatting, and that's been one of my favorite parts of this trip, is just meeting people. I've met a lot of really nice people, a lot of staff, and a lot of people I met on a train. It's just really been a pleasure meeting people and hearing some of their stories, and then sharing my stories with them as well. I learned that my waitress is actually Vietnamese, and she's only been here in Japan for 5 years, but her Japanese is really good, so I was really impressed. And she also knows a decent bit of English as well, so I'm definitely impressed with that. And she's studying global business in university right now. Another behind the scenes story I have for you is when I was taking the train from Sapporo to Hakodate. It was a 4-hour ride, and there was an older gentleman sitting next to my dad, and we were all separated, everyone in my family, and he felt bad, so he asked my dad if he wanted to switch seats. That way I could sit next to my dad, and he said okay, so I really appreciated that, and then we were able to chat some more afterwards. He definitely reminded me of a very typical Japanese senior citizen. He's over 80 years old, but he's still really healthy. And in fact, I think he had even more energy than me, because I was kind of dead that morning because I was so tired, but he was very energetic and he really enjoyed talking. At first we exchanged business cards, and then I felt really bad that he gave up his seat, because to be honest, we all paid the same amount, and he did book his seat, but he was very generous, so I decided to give him some chocolate that I had from the Bay Area, because I wanted to have some gifts that I could give out to people, because I had a feeling I would come across some really special people like him, because that's what happened on my last trip to Japan. And then because I gave him the chocolate, he felt bad, so he gave me a CD. And that's one of the many things I love about this country. In Japan, people are very thankful. Whenever somebody gives you a gift, you always have to give a gift back. After this gigantic fugu feast, we finally made it to dessert, and I'm looking forward to it. It's very simple. It's just a little bit of yuzu sorbet, and I love yuzu. If you already know me, like, I've been getting yuzu throughout this trip. Oh, that was wonderful. It's just light, smooth, and it almost has an eeriness to it. It's not dense at all. and it's very sweet and not nice and tart as well. So refreshing, especially because it's kind of warm in here from all the hot pot and grilling. It's the perfect end to a giant feast. That was such a great Fugu feast I just finished up. I loved the variety of dishes there, and this place was delicious. Compared to the last time I had Fugu, I thought it was a bit on the bland side, but here they did a great job making it really flavorful, and they took a lot of care in making all the different dishes. If you're in Tokyo, this is the place to go to, and I highly suggest you try Fugu when you're in Japan. It's just something you can't get anywhere else in the world. I mean, I've never ever seen Fugu outside of Japan, and if I did find it, there's no way I would actually be wanting to try it, because it probably wouldn't be safe. Because here in Japan, they are the experts, and they know what they're doing, especially at this restaurant. After dinner, I visited Don Quijote, which is a Japanese superstore. They have pretty much everything you could want there. It's basically like a combination of Target and Walmart. This is an interesting Kit Kat flavor I found. They're adult sweetness strawberry Kit Kats, and I've heard about it before. They basically mean they're a little bit less sweet because they're for adults. These are dark chocolate Kit Kats, and I tried some earlier on the trip. Didn't record it, but they taste so much better than American Kit Kats. I also got to snag some matcha Kit Kats. I love matcha, and you can literally not get these at all in the US unless you buy them on Amazon, and they're almost always melted and just a mess. These Kit Kats are also so cheap. One package only costs $2.10. That is just shocking, considering they're using matcha, which is usually pricey. I've never seen these before. Milk tea Kit Kats. These gotta be great. I just finished up at Don Quijote, and I got way too much. I just got this giant bag full of Japanese candies, but I'm gonna be sharing it with a lot of people back home. Let's just take a walk back to our hotel. It should only take about 10 minutes. Once again, I made it back to the hotel, and it's late at night again. It's already 11 p.m. and I have a pretty busy day planned for tomorrow, but today was a pretty good day. I know it was packed going to the temple, having an odd lunch just because that other place was closed, but dinner definitely made up for it. I really enjoyed that Fugu meal, and it's definitely something you have to try when you're in Japan. Again, it's just a really unique experience. Tomorrow I'm going to be heading to Hakone, which is about 2 hours away by train. I got to take the bullet train, and then I got to transfer to this really tiny mountain train. And Hakone is a mountain town known for their onsen, which I'm not going to be doing just because that you usually have to stay at a hotel. And then they have some other sites that I want to see. For example, they have some more geysers, which are like really stinky and smell like sulfur, sort of like Nobori Betsu, and supposedly it's really steamy there. I also have reservations for a place at lunch in Hakone that's part of Nobu brand, which is known for upscale Japanese food, but this place is a bit more on the affordable side. Another popular thing to do in Hakone is they have a giant lake there, and you can take a pirate ship around it, but there is really so much to do there. There's also a shrine which I went to on my last trip to Japan. I just don't know what I'll be able to get to, but either way it's going to be a lot of fun, and I gotta get to bed pretty soon since it's already late. Anyways, I really hope you all enjoyed today's video. Make sure if you did to give it a like, and also make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video when I go to Hakone.